Thanks for staying with us. So we have with us Praise For, and many of us already know him. He's a seasoned life coach and speaker, an author, sex educator, and child abuse activist. He's one of the friends of the houses. Welcome to the show, Praise. Are you there?
I'm here. I've missed you all. How are you today?
Good to see you. So, Praise, we need your help. I mean, so we just got off the phone with Dear Kwa. I didn't want to keep her for too long because these are things that she's still healing from. I didn't want it to be something we just, pour everything on the table. But that's her story. But then there's the Osinachi story. And there are more stories of women coming out to say, I have been through this experience. And Praise, how do we help women survive and get over, have been able to remove themselves from these situations they find themselves in, especially those in the house of God? Because these are stories within the church, within the religious bodies, where they tell you divorce is not an option. It's not an option. God hates. I think I was looking for. God hates divorce. And they said for better, for worse. So help us, Praise. How do we help women within this scope?
Okay, thank you very much. I must applaud what you guys have been doing. I've been trying to follow what you're doing, and as usual, thumbs up to the ladies on the show. The first thing about domestic violence is that people need to understand the dynamics. It's a web. And if you don't understand that web, you will be scratching the surface and be treating symptoms. Now, in the flow chart of domestic violence, you have the victim, you have the perpetrator, you have the production factory of the victim and the perpetrator, you have the society, and in the society, you have the reinforcing society, the educating society, and the prosecuting society. Then you have the skilled intervening system, which Nigeria is not really strong at. Now, if you come to the victim and the perpetrator, both of them are from the production factory, which is the family. Yeah. The question we should be asking is, how did a family produce two individuals, where one is a killer, the other one is going to get killed? And the one to get killed successfully stays within an environment of harm and doesn't see the need to run. Now, these are the foundational issues we need to begin to look at, because if we don't pay attention to how we raise people, so see the way we raise girls. You raise the girls, you put her in the kitchen, and you say to her, I don't want you to disgrace me in your husband's house. Then, during wedding ceremony, what do we say? Don't allow third party into your marriage. We say that. Then the father will likely say, once you leave my house, you are not coming back. We don't, and we have funny adages to back this up, especially from the Yoruba-speaking part of the country. Then you get into the church. The church is part of the society. Now the church is, for lack of a better word, the educating society in Nigeria. That's where a lot of people feed from. Never forget, this girl from the family, or this guy, already has low self-esteem, right? And so she's looking for something to feel her esteem. Then God comes in, or religion. Then within the religious space, the esteem is not dealt with. Then she's given a title. When she gives the title is what feeds his or her esteem. Then she knows within the structure, within the system, that the system does not encourage divorce. So you hear things like God cannot use. I went to Port Harcourt many years ago, and somebody was teaching it that you cannot. God hates once you are divorced, God cannot use you again. You can't be a minister. And I said, no, if God can still collect your tithe and offering, then he should be able to use you. Then I cited example, of people. Joyce Meyer is in a second marriage. Yes. Nobody talks about that. And we invite her. Kenneth Copeland has been married 3 times. Sister Gloria is the 3rd wife. Nobody talks about that. You feed from these people. So it looks to me like it is cultural. So when people have an idea that if I come out about domestic violence, or if I separate, which is actually the basic thing to do, if I separate, I may not be put on the altar again, I may not be able to teach again. So it's a system that tries to punish the innocent for the offense of the guilty one. So people's esteem is not intact, and we don't raise wholesome people. When you don't raise wholesome men and women, they will feed off something else for their self-esteem, and any attempt to take that thing away from them that serves as a, an identity, they will resist it. That's why you find situations where people will rather die, than, lose a title within a religious system. And I think those are the deeper issues.
Right.
Okay, so these issues, what you broke down is deep, but we need to make it easy for people to understand how to solve their immediate problems, because someone finds herself now in a marriage with a spouse who comes from a defunct factory that has produced a beating, and she has been a punching bag for so many years, and she's wondering, how does she step out of this identity? How does she unlock herself from the place where she's seen beating as normal? What does she need to do? How, in practical sense, does she need to write down does she need to reaffirm herself? What will she do? How can she plan her finances? What would you advise such a person who cannot get you one-on-one as a coach to go through that situation with her?
Okay, that's where supporting system comes in. And I think we have not done well. I mean, I hear also in Achi's case, in a civilized society, all those are friends that knew about a domestic violence will be talking to police right now.
Yeah.
That they kept it within themselves because they are complicit, but we're not ready for that conversation. I think the first thing people need to understand is that the covenant of life is superior to covenant of marriage.
True.
So the moment someone begins to get into your mental health space or begins to beat you, you want to leave. And that's why I'm a stickler for don't get married if you don't have the means of feeding your mouth and an extra mouth. Whether you're a girl or you're a guy,
boy.
Don't get it. I mean, that is basic for me. I can't even compromise it. Because people stay in harm's way because they keep thinking, so how will I rent a house? And Lagos is such that, I mean, we're very funny. We will not rent a house to a single girl or a single mother. And so those are the issues. So we now need to begin to form a society that can support people who are in crisis. I mean, thumbs up to the Lagos state government. I don't know of any state in Nigeria, but I worked on the domestic violence response team for so many years. I still work with them even from here. And I know if you call them Titi, thumbs up to that lady. She's done extremely well. No nonsense lady. They are going to invite your spouse. They are going to arrest him if he's not willing to come in. And they will find out what is wrong. If they need to separate you, they will separate you. They will walk through with you on how to get separation.
Right.
Then you have family system. Your family should be able to take care of you if you can't even take care of yourself.
Right.
But it looks like everybody distances themselves from the person who is, the victim. And that's why quality friendship now matters. If you are a human being, you don't have 3, 4, 5 support systems who love you enough to take you in when you're about to get killed, then you also pose a question mark on your relational skill.
True. All right.
These are the things.
Let me throw a few more questions. Praise, we have very little time. We're going to have to throw questions to you.
I agree with you 100%, especially with the analogy of the production, family, and all of that. I've seen that firsthand, and I know that it boils down to the self-esteem of the person who is being abused, who confidently stays in that abuse and feels is normal. I had a friend in the university who told me she can never marry a man who doesn't beat her because she will not believe the man loves her. You beat out of love, But I have a question for the family support you just mentioned and the bystanders. And I believe that you can help people in this sort of relationship either by choice or by force. So for those ones who are so damaged that they cannot help themselves out of the relationship, what can family members, friends, support, church, what can they do to take them out of that place before they kill themselves?
I think that the church now needs to, especially the religious space, needs to now set up professional family life team. That you are the mama of the church doesn't confer on you the capacity to handle family life cases. Let people get trained. Because so many subjectivity in our interpretation of Bible. The question, nobody wants to lose members. So we're going to be subjective, yet let them go to proper people. Because I can't understand it. If people give tithe and offering, and a case is escalated, you should have a home. If you don't have a home, refer them, pay house rent. Give them a temporary succor. we need to normalize whistleblowing, and we need to normalize response, right? So if you are a church or a family, I mean, don't you have, they call some people in the family Jagidiago, people who can actually beat their siblings, or literally. Let someone go there and take that girl out of harm's way. Sometimes the person being abused is not even mentally stable. So you can actually force people out of a situation that is going to destroy them once you have evidence. You can report to the police. These are things we need to begin to normalize. And the religious leaders are listening to me. Get your people trained, right? Bible is not enough when it comes to handling marriages or domestic violence. I mean, almost every church has the mama as the head of family life team. It doesn't. These are areas that have an entire body of knowledge that you need professionals for. Maximize the professionals within your church. I mean, it doesn't remove from you. Let people know things. Take charge.
Let me go ahead.
Yes, just because we're talking about specifically the church and how it can truly support. What do you think about churches and building shelters or creating some form of shelters for women going through abuse like this? Do you think the church will find it convenient, as per the principle that they have on divorce, to be the body that would provide that sort of support for someone who has decided to leave the marriage because of domestic violence?
The divorce is not separation. We need to separate this thing. And let's also be balanced to know that there are men being beaten. I know cases where a man went to report in Lagos that my wife is beating me. Police began to laugh. To say, you call yourself a man, your wife is beating. So a lot of men are not actually even speaking up. Now, I think we need to understand that the church is registered as a not-for-profit. So the church collects what is called commonwealth. If the church cannot build, can the church build more facilities for NGOs who are providing shelter? I mean, we should be able to deploy our funding in the direction of what helps humanity. So yes, it's part of the church's responsibility to save people. The funding should go in the direction of the people. So if one of your people is in harm's way, then it's your responsibility to ensure that they are safe. Churches should actually have shelter. I mean, you have YWCA, YMCA buildings way back. I think we even have some in Lagos, which is like low-cost hostels where people can stay temporarily. So it's something we should, especially the Pentecostal system. I think that's one area we have failed, and I think that's one area we need to go back to. We need to take a cue from the Orthodox churches, because those were the things they built.
Praise. Let me ask this question earlier when we had Kate, and I want to ask it to you because you're the professional. And I'm asking it because many people have been accusing women who choose to stay like they're dumb, like stupid, or like they're not smart enough to know to leave, because it's the obvious thing to do. But when you speak to some of these women, they'll tell you the reason why they stay is not because they're stupid. It's because this man that is violent, they saw him when he was so loving. This is a man that's provided for the family. He was wealthy, he had money, he took the kids were well taken care of. He did his role as a father. Unfortunately, he lost his job. He went into depression. He couldn't get a new job. Things got harder. She maybe began to blossom. And obviously, sometimes any little thing she does, he now lashed at her. And then one of the lashes became a slap. And from there, from slap, he came to punches. And so if you hear these women, they'll tell you, he's a good man. He really loves me. I mean, we started off together. This is not who he really is. Something happened. You know, can you help him? He's going to change. Because that's, that's the excuse they give. And that's the reality, not because they don't want to walk away, but because they feel that this man is better than what I'm seeing. So in that situation, how do you counsel a woman who doesn't want to leave or keeps going back to this man who she loves, that hits her?
Okay. There's a protocol to separation and reconciliation. The protocol when you separate is not for you to bring a pastor or bring your family members to say it's going to change. No. The first thing is when you separate, the person who is the perpetrator needs to go through counseling. Lagos State government actually does, they used to send a lot of people to my office, and until the person has gone through an entire system, because genuinely, there are people who can have problems. And I must say we have helped quite a number of people who did not eventually beat their spouses since then. So, like you rightly said, there are situations and conditions that can lead to such things. What you need to do once you separate, the person needs to go through counseling, or therapy. And the person working with him needs to certify that this person is now mentally stable. There has to be an undertaking signed to say you will not do this again. And then before they even come together, they now have to go through premarital or postmarital counseling again, where you set up systems and structures, and they have to come consistently every month for checkup till we are sure that this guy is no longer a danger to himself before reconciliation happens. People jump these steps and they quickly go back out of emotions, or they hire someone whose authority they believe. And please, I always say this all the time. You know, your religious leader is not all-knowing. You first have to think as a human being and ask yourself, what would I do in this case? Forget religion, as a human being, right? It's so critical. So when the steps from separation to coming back together is skipped, that's when you have situations where fatalities...
Okay, let me pause you for a second. I have a call from London. John, are you there? Thanks for calling. Hello, John.
Hello. Yes.
You're live.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm speaking to your view.
I can hardly hear you. Want to speak louder?
Yeah, I'm speaking to your view, right?
Yes, you are.
Caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. I want to contribute about these next problems and one of the that you guys have rightly discussed. Most times, I actually feel that these church, how can I say that church people or the Christians themselves, they actually do have issues. Can you hear me? All right.
Hello, John. Are you still there? Oh, I think we lost him. Right.
So,
sorry.
I want to, because of church, there's a church setting. Many people have come out to say that the churches are not supportive. The church system, there was a pastor that put on Twitter, I've forgotten his Newman or something, that said this is the cross
she had to carry.
That she has to carry. And you know, there's a thorn in somebody's flesh. You bear the cross and all of that. How can a person in a situation of domestic violence who's been told these things separate what is true from what is not true? And how can they resolve the issue when they feel like, this is my husband, this is the cross, so I have 4 children with him, and he beats me occasionally. What would that person do?
I think we give energy to people who have obviously have psychiatric problems. That Newman, for example, you have never heard of him before. I think he just used that case to trend.
Exactly.
And just wrote nonsense. You know, you don't know his church, you don't. So I don't want to give energy to that kind of a person. However, it's also an established fact. I mean, I had a fallout with a major person who said to me outrightly that under no condition must people divorce. And I asked, what if someone is going to get, he said the person needs to begin to pray. And that was how we had the fallout, a major person. Now, however, we need to understand that I know churches that they will tell you outrightly separate. And so we cannot say that the church in its entirety has not been helpful. However, I think some doctrines need to be repreached. I also believe that people who are Christians or Muslims, you know, the Bible is written in English, originally written in Hebrew. Now you have access to Google, so you can actually check the meaning of words. I mean, it will shock you. Most of the people Lagos State government sent to us who beat their husband, when we run a psychometric called culture compatibility test, the first question there is, a man is superior to a woman. Agree or disagree? Almost all the men who were beating their wives say agree. All the women say disagree. Now, this should be premarital conversation. By the time we ask them, where did you get this belief from? They say from the Bible and from my pastor. Where is in the Bible? And God said, let us make man in our image. And so I said, can you continue reading? And say, let them. Then I asked them, if he was talking about a male, it would have been let him. Can we go to the origin? The word man there is not male. It's humanity expressed in two gender, male and female. Then they stand up to say, nobody ever taught me this. The problem is carriers of truth are also the greatest carriers of error. When culture mixes with scripture, it will produce a damaging message that will mess up. And never forget that The most dangerous person to your life is the person who speaks into your life at least twice every week or once every day, because you won't know at what point you would have replaced that person with God, that even when he begins to tweet error, you will not spot it. And that is why people must now become human beings who can study the Bible for themselves, who must become human beings who can take decisions that human beings need to take. That is why I think a lot of pastors don't say get out, because at the end, even in professional counseling, we never tell you what to do. We guide you. Yeah. You still have to take that decision by yourself.
Right. All right, praise. The excuse that I beat her because she told me certain things. She used this word. She provoked me. She insulted me. And that's the reason, because she's always running her mouth. How do we begin to handle that? Because most of the abusers that I've seen, that I know, the excuse is that the woman has always used her mouth to bring him down. And so in retaliation, because I can't speak as loudly or as much as she does, I have to use my hands. How do we handle this?
Let me just add a little to that. So they would say verbal abuse, she gives verbal abuse, or he gives verbal abuse and gets physical abuse in return.
You operate we don't live in the jungle. If your wife is verbally abusive, please report. You can also separate, right? Because you see, all this, I've met, and I'll tell you some of the crude things I did when I started practicing 20 years ago. I used to handle cases of domestic violence, and there was a particular woman whose husband was beating her, and the man would say it's because, she talks anyhow. And I said to him, you are beating her because you are wicked, not because of anything she's saying. He said, no. So what did I do? I went to register this woman in a taekwondo class. She became so serious with it, she became a black belter. On the day of their investigation or something, I said, invite your husband. She invited the husband. By the time the investigation will require that you fight someone else. This woman took down a hefty man during the black belting unveiling. That was the last time that man laid hands on. So one day we were talking, and she said, one day she got angry. The man got angry. I said, oh, sweetheart, did you get angry? I said, no, how can I be angry? So the knowledge that people beat people because you can beat them. If your wife is a lieutenant colonel in the Nigerian army, you won't beat her. It's impossible. So it is wickedness, it is not weakness. If anger is your weakness, every time Mopo stops you in Lagos, you will slap Mopo. If you don't slap Mopo, every time your boss speaks again, you will slap your boss. So we must not mistake wickedness for weak. That's not if it's a weakness, it must manifest all the time.
Yes.
So you have opportunity to report, you can walk away, you can actually separate. There is no justification for settling any matter with fees. That's my take on that issue.
Okay, so as we wrap up praise, this is a conversation we're going to, because as I said, ladies of YouView and I have discussed this matter for so many, but they will call us men bashers. So when this was actually happened, we just took it as an anchor. But please, let us flood it the way we can. So let me give you a one or 2 minutes to give a wrap up, as a coach, to sign off. Like, what was our final word to women going through this, and men?
I must say that abuse is the word abnormal used. Yeah. So it must start from parenting. When people give birth.
Oh, what happened? We lost that connection.
Oh gosh, and that was
we really wanted to get that. Thank you very much. Let me bring praise back. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.